I'm Amy Reed. It is April 7th, and I'm going to be interviewing Amy Evans for my corrections class. Okay, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sergeant Amy Evans.
Okay, and where do you work?
For the Dixie County Sheriff's Office.
How many years have you been working in corrections?
This is my 10th year.
Okay, and you're also dually certified.
Yes.
So what does that mean?
That means I hold my certification in corrections and law enforcement through the CJSTC.
Okay. So since you work for a sheriff's office, you have the chance that you might have to work under a different sheriff every 4 years, correct?
Yes, correct.
When a sheriff is elected, a new sheriff is elected, does that change much about the jail?
It does. This is the second sheriff that I have worked under, and I can say that there has been positive changes because when he came on board, he told us that we were already a family and he was a new member, so he listened to our complaints and our concerns and he made positive changes.
Does the sheriff have a high interest in the jail, or does he usually just kind of let the jail staff do keep going and doing their own thing?
He does have a high interest in it. He does let the major and the lieutenant run it, but he does play his part.
Okay. What kind of inmates does the jail house? Is it just county inmates, or is there a variety of inmates?
So we have a variety of inmates. We have our county inmates, the surrounding counties inmates, we have some federal marshal inmates, and we have a couple state bed inmates when they're housed for court.
Do federal inmates have a difference in how they're treated in regards to their housing? Do they have to be housed specially, or is it the same as everybody else?
No, they're the same as everybody else. As long as their custody does not max them out to have to be housed in a confinement or a maximum security pod, they're mixed in with all the other inmates. And the rules for them are just like the rules for our inmates.
Okay. And you did say something about the marshals. So y'all go out and help the marshals, and y'all house people that they attempt to locate. And are you on that team?
I did help with the sex offender part of that before, but we have not got that started back up yet. I do work with the U.S. Marshals though for the corrections, and whenever they have court and they need people to do courthouse security over there, then I'll go over there and stay with the inmates.
Okay. What is the purpose of corrections?
So the purpose of corrections is to teach people that there's consequences for their actions. So if you get in trouble and you have to come stay with us, that lets you know that you can't just go and break the law and everything be okay. And we try to also teach them, whenever they do get out of jail, how to live while they're there, so when they get out, they're less likely to come back.
Do you believe that jail is a deterrent for criminals to maybe do more criminal acts in the future?
I do, because 9 times out of 10 when you let somebody out of jail, they'll say, I'm never coming back. So even if it doesn't work all the time, I do believe that sometimes it does work, because when they're there, they lose all their freedom. They don't get to talk to who they want to talk to when they want to. They have to follow the rules. They have to get up and make their beds. They have to eat at certain times. So most people don't like not having the freedom to do what they want to do when they want to do it.
Okay. So what would a day in the life of Sergeant Evans be like?
So shift starts at 6 a.m. and whenever you go on shift, you have to count the inmates to make sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be. And then when we get done counting, we do a cleanup. We get the trustees out and they clean all the common areas and get ready for breakfast, and then serve breakfast. And then during that time we have visitors come in, like contact visits, we have chapel visits, we have legal visits, and pretty much we just go through and make sure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it. Everybody's fed, everybody's alive and breathing, and nobody's causing any trouble.
What would you say is the best part about working in a jail?
Helping people, that's what I would say, because there's a lot of people that come through that, especially the younger kids that didn't really have loving parents and wasn't really raised up, I won't say the right way, because I don't know if there really is a right way, but they weren't raised up in a loving home, and then they come there and you can tell that they they don't really have anybody that cares for them, and if you just show them, like, I'm not saying break the law or anything, but if you show them, like, there is people who want you to do better, a lot of times, whenever they get out, those are the people who will come back in 5 to 10 years and say, hey, you helped me while I was here, and this is where I'm at in my life now, and you made a difference.
Do you ever have problems though with people wanting to be buddy-buddy with you and thinking that they can pull one over on you?
Yes, so anytime an inmate is there for a long period of time, especially if they're a trustee, they get comfortable. When they get comfortable, they think that the rules don't apply to them. You just have to remind them that they are an inmate in the facility and they have to follow the rules just like everybody else.
So what would you say would be the worst part about working in a jail?
I've only worked in our jail, and probably the worst part about working in our jail is we're such a small town, so you run into people that you went to high school with, or that you're friends with, or even people you're related to, and you have to treat all those people the same. And it's hard to keep the two different, especially when they come in and they're like, oh, it's Amy. You're like, no, I'm Sergeant Evans while you're here. So, that's probably the hardest part.
So what are some of the challenges an officer faces working with inmates?
I would say probably the inmates trying to get you to break the rules, to do extra favors for them or bring stuff in with them, because they're stuck there. You get to leave and come back every day, so they know that you have that freedom, and if you'll give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And probably the negative attitudes, because almost all of them have a negative attitude.
Okay, so if you had to give a piece of advice to someone who decided they were going to work in the jail or was starting to work at the jail, what would that be?
I would say just pay attention whenever you're around people or when you go into the pods and go into the rooms, because it doesn't matter how much you think you pay attention, they're still going to try stuff, and it doesn't matter what they say, probably 90% of it is not true. So take things at face value and investigate it for yourself, because a lot of times what they say is not true.
Okay, well thank you for letting me interview you today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for asking me.